be dropped on the ground. So there's a serious problem within the industry in most areas in terms of oversupply, and further aggravation would be the arrival of $1 or $2 bottles of Argentinian wine. But if it's a free trade question, the only question I've had, who's losing money when they're selling it at that price?
Yes. Neville, what do you think the answer is? The wine industry's got to come up with a solution itself?
Well, I think the wine industry, the statistics are coming through now, is that there will be a return to balance by the end of this year, because this year's harvest isn't going to be as big, and the stocks will be running down, as far as the bottled wine already. So when the new harvest comes in a few months' time, it will come back a little bit into balance. The Australian situation is far more critical because they've always had a big wine glut problem, and if they're getting imported wine in from Argentina, well, that's just going to add to their woes. Now and Australia is the 5th largest wine producer in the world, and Argentina's not far away from that too.
Oh, we just hope they keep drinking our Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, definitely.
Now it's on to you beauty, praise or a bollocking, the opposite. What do you have, Keith?
Well, I want to give some praise to some people in the pig industry.
They haven't had much praise recently,
exactly.
have they?
And I just read the other day that there's a pig farmer who's producing electricity using his effluent as a source of methane, and to me that's very positive. And the other positive thing was the pig farmers the other day who were in the press making their effluent into a very fine fertiliser without smell, I might add, using straw and sawdust. So and one of them calls it grunt, and I think that's a very appropriate
great marketing
word.
idea, isn't it? Yeah. Neville, do you think pig farmers deserve all the bad press they've had recently, particularly from the animal welfare lobbyists and so forth?
Definitely not. I think it's another issue where public opinion and perception is way behind the reality, and those shocking things on television, as we know, are staged. But but I've noticed in the supermarkets now that at least it's benefiting the local farmers, because you can only buy New Zealand, what do they call it, farmed, farmed pork rather than imported ones. And obviously most of the imported pork is going into processed ones, and people have no idea where the bacon comes from anyway.
Do you think the Pork Board is doing enough in terms of standing behind producers and getting the message across to the public generally?
Well, it basically has to be marketing the attractions of that meat, and obviously there are price points that where it becomes unsustainable. But I'm not that much in favour of them opposing imports for the sake of opposing them, because obviously there is a use, and there's obviously nothing wrong with Canadian or Australian pork in itself.
And that could be a problem under free trade agreements coming through anyway. So, yes, that would be a difficulty. Keith, when you talk about all these good things that are being done in the industry, is it time for the pork industry to have a wider strategy rather than just this is the meat that we produce that's put in front of the consumer in the supermarket?
Yes, I haven't seen enough, I think, of where farmers are really doing a very good job. I mean, all we've seen is the negative to a degree, and how they're producing the pork, and enough also on the pricing thing, because I think that's very important for them to get their story across.
Right. Now, I believe you also have a bollocking, being very even-handed.
Well, I get upset when some announcement is made by government or somebody and everybody jumps on it and says it's criminal and all that. And the whole question of mining of New Zealand resources. Now, I'm not sure that we should mine, but I would like to know what resources New Zealand has. And I think, and I feel it's unfortunate that the Minister didn't have his figures right over some of the production that was expected, and I think we need to do a lot more, bring a lot more science into the arguments rather than just emotion.
Yeah, well, Neville, the Minister didn't seem to have any figures at all at some stages there, did he?
It is a bit difficult because geological surveys haven't been carried out for many years, because the mining industry has basically been starved of funding, and of course they've got very little land on which to do it. But there has been quite a big macro view, and some holes have been picked in it. But New Zealand is a highly mineralised country.
So you're in favour of mining going ahead?
I think we need to excite people, and that's what the government's done. We want to excite them about the mining industry, the changes that have taken place, but also get more people studying geology. When I went to university, there was a lot of geologists around. I don't know if they've trained any geologists in the last 10 years, but certainly that should become more exciting.
Yeah, geologists might have gone the way of soil scientists, Keith. You don't see too many of those these days, do you?
You know, they're a rare breed, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I have a you beauty and a bollocking this week. The police have said that they're going to be on duty for the start of duck shooting, out there making certain that hunters are being responsible with firearms, particularly where alcohol might be concerned. Good on them for doing that, but should the thin blue line being stretched like that, when a bit of common sense is what it's really all about, isn't it, Keith?
I think there should be a great reduction in the size of the hip flask they take out when they go shooting, or the number of dozen of beers that go.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thanks to my guests, National Business Review editor Neville Gibson and former Federated Farmers Vice President Keith Hanning. And thanks to you for watching. Please email your comments to country99tv.co.nz. Check out my new blog on the website, and we'll see you next week.